Hi, welcome back. So far we have learned the basic concepts of database and also learned the queries to perform the CRUD operations. One thing that you would have observed that we have been using a single table to perform the queries. However, in real life example we always have to create multiple tables. So let's move to create few other tables in our database. First I am going to create a table which is qualification table. Right click on the tables, new and table. The table that I am going to create will have the columns, for example qualification ID, it would be integer, allow null no, then qualification name or degree name. It should be varchar degree, and then just no before saving I would like to define the qualification ID as primary key. Right click on qualification ID, set as primary key, and then I have to go here and set as identity, and auto increment is 1 and identity seed is 1, which means that first value of our first row will have the qualification ID as 1, and every time it will get incremented by the 1 value, means 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Save it, give the name, qualification, and save. Okay, just refresh it. You can see that the qualification table has appeared here. Now let's observe the columns of both tables. This is employee info table and this is qualification table. You can see that employee info table has employee ID, name, date of birth, and home address, whereas qualification table contains the qualification ID and degree name, which means that both table does not have any relation with each other. If you observe the both tables, you will identify that there is no relation between these tables. Let's have a review of our previous chapters where we have learned the basic concepts of table relationship. The first type of relationship that we have learned in our previous chapters was one-to-one relationship, where one value of a table has a referential value in another table. To create the reference between both tables, we have added the ID of one table in another table. In our example, we have added the student ID in table 1 and in table 2. I am just going to edit the employee table and will add the qualification ID as reference key. Right click on qualification ID, right click on qualification ID and then click relationships. A screen will appear to you to define the foreign key relationship. Just press the add button. Okay, here I have to select the table refresh the table. You can see the qualification ID has been added here, and you will also observe a key symbol, which means that this table is a foreign this column is a foreign key column, and you can see the keyword fk is also mentioned here, which means this is a foreign key value. In simple words, that whatever the qualification ID will reside in this column should be available in this table as well. Okay, let's fill the few values in this table. Degree name is O level, second is, let's say, A level, and BSc and MSc, and then Masters of Computer, and blah blah blah. We have entered these 6 different type of degrees or qualifications in our qualification ID table. Now I am going to edit the employee ID, employee info table, and just going to edit the records. Let's say I am going to assign the O level. For example, employee ID 1, Yasir Mahmood, has the qualification ID 1, which means he is O level passed. For example, our second employee John has employee ID 5, and 5 means masters of computer. Let's say third employee King David has qualification ID 2, which means he is A level passed. And Harry, employee ID 5, Harry, who lives on JKL Lane, UK. His qualification ID is 4, for example, which means MSc. Whereas we does not fill the qualification ID of employee ID 7, which means that we don't know about his qualification. In employee info table, we have added a foreign key qualification ID from qualification table, but this table does not, or this number does not show that what is the name of the degree. And to get the name of degree, you always have to go to this table. You can see that the information, that the complete information is actually divided in two separate tables, and you cannot get the full information by performing the select query on a single table. For the situation like this, where we have to get the data from multiple tables, we always have to write the join queries. Joins are the techniques to get data from multiple tables with the help of common data values. The first one is inner join. Inner join means a type of SQL join which returns the common values between two tables. Secondly, most useful type of join is left join or left outer join. In left outer join, the complete data of base table is returned, whereas only common data of the second table is returned as result set. Third type is right outer join. Right outer join is a replica of left outer join, but as you can see in diagram, that now the base table is the table 2, and the query will return the complete data set of the table 2, whereas only common type of data will be returned from table 1. Full outer join. Full outer join is the fourth type of join, where complete data set of both tables will be returned. Now let's move to the practical examples and write few queries to get the data on the basis of different type of joins. Okay, I am just going to write a query. Okay, just type select static from employee info table F5. Okay, here you can see the complete information of an employee, but qualification ID is being printed, but we cannot identify the name of the degree that is being reflected in terms of number here. So first I am going to write an inner join write the keyword inner join space name of second table, which is qualification. Then place the keyword on, and then first table employee info dot the common column, which is qualification ID, equals to qualification dot qualification ID. Okay, now just I am going to execute by pressing the F5. Oh, if you observe, now we have the column, we have few additional columns in our result set. These are the data, this is the data that exists in our employee information table, whereas this is the table data which exists in our qualification table. You can see in this way we can easily identify that the employee ID 1, whose name is Yasir Mahmood, who lives at this address and whose degree name is O level. Second employee is John, whose date of birth is this, who lives at this place, and his degree name is Masters of Computer. If you could observe that the total number of rows returned by this query are the 4 rows, whereas our table employee info table has I think 5 or 6 rows, 5 rows, which means that this row is not being returned when we execute the query of full inner join. Can you please guess that what could be the reason the SQL Server did not return the information of employee ID 5? The answer of this question is that we have used the inner join, where only that type of data is being returned which exists in both tables, which is common in both tables, and the ID that we are using is qualification ID, which means that a qualification ID that exists in this table should always exist in this table as well, and the qualification ID null does not exist in qualification table. Therefore, inner join will not select the employee ID 7th information. Now let's re-execute the same query so that you could recheck the values. Employee ID 1, 2, 3, 5, whereas employee ID 7 is missed. Okay, got it? Okay. Now just comment the query, and now we are going to write the left outer join. Select static from employee info left outer join qualification on employee ID employee info dot qualification ID is equals to qualification dot qualification ID. Let's execute the query. Oh, if you observe that this query returned the 7th rows to us, but it returned the null values where data does not available in the second table. This one. The complete data of first table is returned and only the common data of second table is returned. Okay, got it? Now just write another type of query, which is write outer join. Write the select static from employee info table write outer join qualification table on employee info dot qualification ID qualification dot qualification ID. Now let's execute the and keep the result of this left outer join in your mind, and then we will compare this result with the result of this query where we are going to use the right outer join. Just press the F5. Oh, this is a totally different type of result. In right outer join, the base table is the table 2 becomes the base table and its complete data set or result set is returned, whereas the only common data of table 1 is returned in result set. Now just move to write the fourth type of query. Oh, sorry, I missed the full join keyword. The keyword full join. Full outer join returns the complete data of both tables, table 1 and table 2. By observing the data of these two tables, you can easily identify that qualification ID 3 and 6 is not assigned to any employee, whereas employee ID 7 has no qualification ID, which means either he is an illiterate person or his qualification is not available with us. I would suggest you to create two separate tables and perform different type of joining queries, whereas I am going to upload the these select queries for your help.